Okay, so you've done it. You've successfully inoculated your microbial fuel cell, and it is alive. It's got that spark of potential. But getting it started, that's really only half the battle. Now we're going to dive into the really crucial next stage: how to operate it, how to sustain it, and how to truly master your MFC for the long haul. I want you to think of yourself less as just a scientist or an engineer and more as a caretaker. Seriously, this thing in front of you isn't just a piece of lab equipment. It's a living, breathing bioreactor. And just like any living system out there, it needs the right kind of care, the right kind of food to really thrive. So the big question is, how do we keep that spark alive and kicking? All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to walk through 5 essential steps to becoming an expert caretaker. We'll talk about what to feed it, how to build the perfect habitat, how to read its vital signs, what to do when things go wrong, and then we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways you absolutely need to remember. First things first, let's talk about food. The fuel you choose is the absolute foundation for a healthy, productive MFC. It's basically the diet plan that's going to determine whether your cell is a high-performance sprinter or more of a long-distance, steady marathon runner. And right here is where you have to make a really fundamental choice. On the one hand, you've got acetate. Think of it as pure, high-octane fuel. It's predictable, it's simple, and it's absolutely perfect for a lab setting where you're trying to max out your power output. But then on the other hand, you've got actual wastewater. Now, it's a lot more complex, kind of messy, but it's the eco-friendly workhorse. It's what you use when your goal is to treat pollutants while generating power. So you've got to ask yourself, am I going for peak power in a controlled lab or a practical real-world solution? So once you've picked the menu, the very next step is creating the perfect environment for your microbes. And this isn't just about tweaking some settings. It's about building a stable, comfortable, and productive home for your entire microbial community. Trust me, if you get the habitat right, they will definitely reward you for it. And creating that perfect habitat, it really boils down to these 3 simple rules. First up, the thermostat. Your microbes, they're happiest in a stable, sweet spot, somewhere between 25 and 35 degrees Celsius. Next, you've got to balance the acidity. You want to keep the pH pretty neutral, right around 6.5 to 7.5. And finally, you have to schedule their meals. You need to decide, are you going to refill it in batches whenever the power starts to dip, or are you going to set up a nice, continuous, steady flow of food? Okay, so the habitat is perfect, the fuel is flowing, but how do you actually know if everything's working like it should? Well, you have to monitor its vital signs. Your MFC is constantly communicating its health through data, and your job is to learn how to listen. These right here are the key metrics on your MFC's health dashboard. You'll be tracking voltage and current, of course, and power density to see your total output, but coulombic efficiency, or CE, is super important. It tells you just how efficiently your microbes are passing electrons to the anode. A high CE means you're capturing way more of that potential energy. And you can't forget chemical oxygen demand, or COD. That's what measures how well your MFC is actually cleaning the wastewater. Now, while all those metrics are useful, one of them stands out as your best first indicator of daily health. And that's voltage. Why? Well, because it's the most immediate, the most sensitive measure of what your microbial community is up to. This chart gives you a really clear benchmark. A healthy, happy MFC should consistently be putting out somewhere between 0.2 and 0.6 volts. If you're in that zone, you know things are going pretty well. But you really need to pay close attention to this. Look, a slow, gradual decline in voltage, that might just mean it's dinner time, time to refuel. But a sudden, sharp drop, whoa, that's a whole different story. That is your MFC's alarm bell. It's a cry for help, telling you that something in its little ecosystem is seriously wrong and you need to pay attention right now. And when that alarm bell rings, you don't panic, you act. Which brings us to troubleshooting. I want you to think of this next part as the first aid kit for your MFC. It's going to give you the power to diagnose and solve the most common problems as quickly as possible. This simple table pretty much covers the top 3 emergencies you're likely to face. If you see that low voltage we were just talking about, your first step is always to refuel. If that doesn't fix it, you might need to re-inoculate. Is the pH drifting out of that sweet spot? Easy fix. Add a buffer to get it stable again. And if performance is still lagging, you might have biofilm fouling. That's a gunk that can build up and block the anode, which just calls for a gentle cleaning. All right, so let's bring this all home. We've gone through fueling, creating the right habitat, monitoring its health, and even some first aid. Mastering these points is really the key to moving beyond just running an MFC to truly sustaining a source of living biopower. So here it is, your official caretaker's checklist. Number 1, choose your fuel based on your goal. Acetate for raw power, wastewater for treatment. 2, maintain that stable habitat. Keep your temperature and pH right in the sweet spot. 3, monitor your voltage every single day. It is your number 1 vital sign. And finally, number 4, act fast when you see those sudden drops. Use that data to figure out what's wrong and fix it. So here's the most important point of all. You're not just operating a machine anymore. You are the caretaker of a living, microscopic ecosystem that literally turns waste into energy. You now have the knowledge to keep it alive and keep it thriving. So the only question left is, what world-changing idea are you going to fuel with it?